I'm Jared Deenda, and this is Snap-on Tools Great Garages. We're in Santa Barbara, California to take a look at a shop that builds 100-point restoration vehicles, million-dollar Maseratis, and some modern-day supercars. Let's check out JML Restorations. Marty, how we doing?
Good, nice to meet you.
Yeah, tell us about JML, what it is, how long it's been around.
Well, I've been playing with cars for a long time, and I decided to get out of the architecture field about 7 years ago, 8 years ago, and started a shop working on my own cars, and it's just blossomed into specializing in Italian cars. Maseratis are our go-to car, but we pretty much work on anything that's worth restoring.
You're covering the whole gamut as far as Maseratis?
Yeah, we handle most of the Maseratis from the 3500 GT, which is mid-50s, up to 76, the Bora. Our specialty is restoring the cars. We do every nut, bolt, and screw, and then we show them. We've been doing quite well in the show circuit, and also in the selling, we've been hitting milestone benchmarks and record prices for the cars that we do.
You're saying high dollar items, what does that fetch?
Well, some of the prototypes, the Maserati 3500s can go to mid $1 to $2 million mark. We sold a Ghibli a few years ago, 4.9 Spider like this red one here, for 1.6, and they're climbing.
So you're saying we got a couple million around us right now?
This row right here is about 3 million.
Really?
Yeah.
No metal around the cars at all? I'll take my rings off and take the watches and belts off.
Yeah, we walk around very carefully. We don't want to scratch anything.
Why Snap-on Tools for you and your other associate?
Well, by far they're the best tools, and they're coveted by everybody that knows how to use a tool. Mine keep getting stolen. Jeff locks his away every night.
Yeah.
And the precision and the hand, the feel of them are great, and they work.
There's a car in particular, and I think we'll get to it eventually. It's kind of the hot rod Maserati.
I've always wanted a vintage race car, and I couldn't afford it, so because they're in the multi-millions, and I decided to build a replica of a 450S Maserati. And we did it here. We made it out of all Maserati parts. We hand fabricated an aluminum body, and it took 5 years.
Wow.
But we did it all right here.
That's awesome.
So it kind of showcases our abilities, what we can do.
All right, so everything from modern Lamborghini, 90s Porsche, but Maserati is your forte. So without further ado, can you show us and give us a little guidance on, it's literally a foreign car, and to many, even car fanatics, it's a real kind of, like I said, niche vehicle. So can we check some out?
Sure, yep.
All right. All right, so this thing looks beautiful. Customer's car?
Yes, this was an original car we got in as a trade against a Vignale Spider, like one of these. Okay. So I owned it for a very short period of time, but then I resold it to a gentleman, and then he fell in love with the car and decided to restore it. So we started with the cosmetics, and then we continued on with the mechanics, take the engine out. Oh, might as well rebuild it while we're there. So this is the latest iteration of a 3500 GTI.
Well, this is kind of like the Ford Mustang of the Maserati world. This is the early, like the 65 Mustang, right? 64 and a half.
Right. Yeah, these are really popular, and they still are. They sell well, and they're great driving cars. They're very reliable, and they're fast.
Are there particular tools that you utilize, or what's some of your favorite tools that you utilize on these vehicles, you and your other technician?
Well, it's just standard metric, 99% are metric. Some of the brakes are SAE, but it's ratchets, screwdrivers.
And we ask this question of all our technicians, what's your favorite tool, what's your go-to tool, the one that find your hand the most often?
The 3/8" snap-on ratchet. Use this all the time and pretty much disassemble the entire car with this tool and various extensions and swivels. I've had this particular ratchet for about 25, 26 years.
Okay, wow. You're using the tool to its utmost ability, but I think that lies in the details too, because you said nut and bolting, 99% metric.
Yeah, the accuracy of the snap-on open end wrenches and the box end wrenches is critical, so you don't strip some of the valuable nuts and bolts that we replate, because they have particular markings on the head, so we have to put those back in the car, and they usually get sent out for black oxide or silver cad.
Yeah.
And so it's important to have the accuracy, and we've used other tools and they shear off the ends of the nuts, and so the snap-on is the accuracy that we need. The attention to detail is demanded because the cars are increasing in value, and they're rolling sculpture, they're works of art.
That's a great way of putting it. Speaking of sculpture, can we pop the hood on this, because this is a unique engine unto itself. What are we looking at here?
Well, this is an inline 3.7 liter engine, and it is a dual plug per cylinder. triple Weber, dual throat Webers, and headers, and it moves the car quite nicely.
All right, so we're talking about the classics here, but I see a much more modern car. We're going to jump 10 years, and also I'd like to have some words with your other technician. Who's that?
That's Jeff Havlick, and he's the head mechanic, a technician in the shop, and he's the go-to guy when it needs to get running.
Yeah, all right, well, let's have some words with Jeff. You are the technician. Marty says you know a little bit more than he does in particular genres or areas. What's kind of your level of expertise, or what do you primarily focus on these vehicles?
I focus more on the mechanicals, the assembly of the suspension, the chassis, the engine, and the electrical.
How long have you been a technician in all of the fields?
20 years.
20 years.
Yeah, my dad owned a shop, and I started working at his shop and moved on from there.
What vehicle are we looking at here? Because quite a jump from the 60s to the 70s, and you know, in 10 years, this thing looks longer, sleeker, looks more modern.
Yeah, this is a '74 Maserati Bora.
Okay.
It's mid-engine.
Yeah.
It's kind of neat for this time period.
Yeah. What are you working on particular with this vehicle? Is this restored cosmetically, or are you just primarily working on mechanics?
This is cosmetically and mechanical. This is a full restoration.
What tool do you find most commonly in your hand when you're working on these vehicles or any of the vehicles?
I like the snap-on precision ratchets.
Okay.
And some of the needle nose pliers
Okay.
work well on these.
Needle nose, what are you using this for? Wiring or particular?
Yeah, wiring, a lot of small clips and fasteners.
All right, so you got your needle nose. You said wiring, snips, cutting, just why snap-on needle nose? And I mean, you said you've been a technician for 20 years. Do you find a difference when you're using other manufacturers or other companies?
I do. These are very strong at the tip all
Yeah.
the way out here, and it's a precision cut with fine teeth that get a good grip on the fastener, whatever you're using.
Yeah. Another tool you utilize, you have in your pocket.
I do.
This is kind of a unique ratchet, and this particular model is discontinued, but they are bringing it back in a different size.
Yeah, this is it's got a very precise drive, and it's got the flex head that swivels around. It comes in very handy working under a dashboard or behind the gauges of a car.
Well, thank you so much for your time. This thing's awesome. Can't wait to see it on the road.
All right.
Thanks, man. Had some words with Jeff, and now we're looking at another vehicle you're restoring, and this thing's adorable. Tiny little car, what are we looking at?
This is a Fiat-based Auto Bianchi transformable, 1960. Belongs to one of our clients, and we got it in as a basket case, and we're trying to put it together. So we did all the body work and the rust repair, and it's all been painted, and it's beautifully done. Undersides, wheel arches in the interior is all white. The roof is black, obviously. And now we're going to assemble the engine.
Tiny little car, tiny little engine.
Yeah, tiny little two-cylinder air-cooled engine, a whopping 29 horsepower. You know, it goes, it moves.
Compact spaces. What kind of tools are you utilizing to put this thing together?
Same as the Maserati, it's just basic hand tools. The car is all hand built, nothing electric, no impact wrenches, but snap-on screwdrivers and sockets and ratchets and metric hand tools.
Speaking of screwdrivers, these things have seen some miles as well.
Yeah, these have been well used, and they're accurate in terms of fitting the proper heads, and they don't break off. They don't shear off the slots.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about all these classic, different levels of, you know, restoration. Like you said, one rolling in, it's going to get stripped down. But you're also doing some modern cars over here.
Yeah, we have a Lamborghini Aventador, and it's just a spectacular automobile. So we like working on new cars too. They don't take nearly as much time because there's nothing rotted or falling apart on them. So a little bit of electrical work on that car, and it's ready to hit the road again.
So we talked about this vehicle in the beginning of this whole episode, and now we're finally here. How long did this vehicle take to build, and what is it?
Well, it's a recreation of a Maserati race car built in the late 50s called the 450S type Tipo 61. And there are only 10 original cars. They were all right-hand drive. This is obviously a left-hand drive, so I'm not trying to fool anybody, but it's a Superleggera all aluminum body built on an original Maserati chassis that's been shortened, narrowed, and then built to look like that original car.
Yeah.
These three pictures are the original cars, and so they were helpful in recreating this. So this is an entirely handmade car here in the shop.
Yeah.
We made everything that you can see here except the engine block, which is a Maserati 5-liter engine, putting out about 420 horsepower. But all the framework and the windshield and all the gauges are all replications of the 450S. We made the seats. It's got the brawny wire wheels.
Yeah. It looks a little American, but then you start looking at the details. It has that kind of Italian refinement. How long did this take?
Took about 5 years.
Wow.
You know, working on it probably 4 hours a day.
Wow.
Yeah, it took a long time to build it, and it was my first complete from scratch car build. This is not a kit.
Yeah.
Every single nut, bolt, and screw here has been hand fabricated. So it took quite a bit of time, but it's all aluminum with the steel frame tubing. This car weighs 2,100 pounds, and so the power to weight ratio is huge.
Yeah.
It's fun to drive.
This is a driver, and
Yeah.
how often are you taking this out?
Not often enough. It's probably once a month at best.
Yeah, I gotta say, this is a great testimonial of the work that you guys do at JML. You guys utilize the Snap-on tools, the level of refinement, the attention to detail. Man, thank you so much.
Great to have you in the shop, and thanks very much for showcasing our work.
Yeah, no, thank you, and let me get the keys.
Okay. You might not fit.
No, I definitely won't fit. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thanks for watching another episode of Snap-on Tools Great Garages. For all things Snap-on Tools, be sure to like our page. Also, comment below on what's your favorite vintage supercar.